When I was a kid, running was play. I accelerated on the trails, making a game of keeping pace over rocks and roots. I took blind turns with my arms raised high to avoid the encroaching chaparral and craned my neck trying to find the hawk whose cry echoed in the canyon. Cresting a hill, I imagined I had similar views as that hawk. Running down the backside, I was a coyote chasing its prey. In the field, I was a deer prancing over tall grasses. These moments thrilled me, but I loved even more the buzz of racing. It seemed wild, even reckless, to run to the point of straining, to be chased and fend off competitors in a primitive game of speed. Each race, I charged off the line, eager to see if I could extend the gap between me and my challengers. The rush of adrenaline and urgency, of fear and delight, of pride and satisfaction was the most emotion I'd ever felt as a child. I was 11 and a new member of the youth track program in Agora Hills, a Southern California town bordered by the Santa Monica Mountains. My parents had enrolled me. Sports were, in their minds, the antidote to my quiet, solitary ways. I liked sitting alone on the hillside pulling weeds between the flower beds, pretending I was a gardener while the neighborhood kids played in the cul-de-sac. I spent hours in our playroom having Barbie redecorate her dream house or staging plays with my stuffed animals. Once, I sucked the colored candy coating off a pair of M&Ms and held them in the palm of my hand, pretending they were bird eggs. I told my sister Leslie, who was 7, 4 years younger than me, and gullible, that I'd found them in a nest outside my bedroom window. A few days later, after I'd secretly bitten into them, we were excited to find a crack in the shell. I pulled on the opening and pried off a chunk of chocolate to reveal the peanut inside, which I told Leslie was a tiny bird. For shock value, I ate it. My parents were worried I spent too much time in my head, and sports were a logical solution. They didn't start with track, but with softball when I was 8. My dad got into it and signed on to coach. He was a quiet man with a stout belly and skinny legs and an obsessively trimmed beard and mustache. At practice, he wore a polo shirt and shorts with white socks pulled high to cover his thin ankles. He jokingly referred to himself as an olive on a toothpick. Among my teammates, he was also known for his bear hugs. My mom brought the snacks, a lively Jewish woman with a thick Boston accent and a freckled face from being raised at the beach. She appeared at each game with an ice chest full with sliced oranges, Capri Suns, and enough Big League Chew for the entire team. Softball was boring to me, so I passed the time in the outfield making dandelion necklaces for my teammates. Once, parents and coaches started shouting my name. The ball had whizzed by, and I ran to pick it up. Then, unsure of what to do, I held it. My dad frantically pointed to first base, but by the time I threw the ball, the runner was already approaching second base. My dad and the other coach just shook their heads. Ice skating was more promising at first. I could go backward, spin without traveling, and abruptly stop by catching the thin edge of my skate's blade on the ice. I loved skating so much, my mom hired someone to make me the frilly sequined outfits I wore for competitions, complete with matching boot covers. But one morning, when it became clear I was never going to execute an axel, my instructor quit, walking off the ice in the middle of practice. She told my mom it didn't really matter. I was too skinny to be graceful anyway. My mom was convinced these experiences were ruining my self-esteem, and in a bid to right this, she and my dad enrolled me in youth track. Running seemed fail-proof. There were no tryouts. No one was cut. Everyone participated and got a ribbon. Most kids started with the sprints, but my mom ruled them out because a few girls in the valley were already racing at a national level, including future Olympian Marion Jones. Ever protective, my mom thought if I got clobbered in the sprints, my self-esteem would plummet, so she had me join the distance running group. My dad drove us all to the track on the first day. I was braiding Leslie's hair when we pulled into the school, and the chaotic scene caught our attention. Kids were jumping into sandboxes, arching over bars, falling into big blue mattresses. Coaches were shouting and pointing and clapping. My mom, with a plush stadium cushion in one hand and my sister's hand in the other, made a beeline toward the bleachers. I followed my dad, who had offered again to be a volunteer coach. We scanned the field to find the distance team and were eventually directed to a group of about 8 boys and girls huddled around head coach Sal Pratt's. Coach Pratt's was a big personality stuffed into a short, strong frame. Today's warm-up is a half-mile on the track with 5 minutes on the trail, he said. Wary of doing something wrong, I asked, how many laps is a half-mile? 2, he said. My dad held up 2 fingers. Where's the trail? Coach Pratt started to give me directions, but then said, just follow Noelle if you can keep her in your sights.